What up, gang? It's Mang. I'm on Arena Tarkir Dragonstorm early access client here. I wanted to give my first impressions on the set. I've done 5 sealed events, 2 drafts. I'm going to try to do one more in this last hour here, but I wanted to give my thoughts, first impressions on the set, and what you can expect going into your pre-release. This pre-release is a little bit different. When you go, you actually select one of the 5 clan pre-release kits. So they have a seeded pack in there that kind of pushes you in that direction. I believe it comes with a tri-land more times than not, maybe a common dual land in your colors, but your odds of building that set clan that you select are very high. You're going to want to lean into the cards you get in that seeded pack, and that gives you a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of direction coming into pre-release. We don't usually get that when you go and get your random 6 packs. So in this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts, my soft rankings, my first impressions, and maybe this will help you make your decision a little bit easier going into your local game shop's event. Let's go ahead and start off with my soft rankings. I have Abzan taking the first spot here, and I'll preface this by saying all of these colors work. I did a sealed event for each of these, played 5 games of each. All of the decks popped off. They all have their moments as long as you're building them correctly. Now, you're building into the clan's colors, but more times than not, you're going to want to build a 2-color deck, splashing maybe 2 to 5 cards in that 3rd color. You don't want to go crazy with your mana base. You're going to have a lot of dual lands, a lot of even some tri-lands that'll help you get your mana correct. And you're going to want to maybe build a black-green deck, splashing white for a handful of cards, or a red-white deck, splashing a few black cards. You don't want to go crazy and think, oh, I'm Mardu, I can play any of the cards in these colors, and maybe you have 5 mountains, 5 plains, 5 swamps. Avoid that at all costs. You'll do yourself some favors and not have dead games. I had a few matches with my opponents. They were stuck on 2 lands, maybe 3 lands of the 2 colors, and they couldn't cast some of their spells. It's okay to play off curve as long as you're able to cast your spells. So it's a slower set. It's going to be naturally with 3 colors. Abzan is the color pair centered around putting counters on things. It's your bread and butter. Just bonk your opponent down with bigger, badder tramplers. And we got Fellothar, Dawn of Abzan. You sack a non-land permanent, buff your entire board. When it attacks, you do it again. Obviously, there's graveyard synergy in the set too, so you can really get value out of sacking things you don't care about. You're gonna, either renew or harmonize them later. Very strong card. Armament Dragon is excellent. Comes in as a 3/4 body, and you put counters on either itself or you grow some of your other tramplers or death touchers or whatever you got working. But I don't think you can go wrong choosing a clan with white in the color if you really are splitting hairs and trying to get a percentage point advantage at your event. We have Elspeth Stormslayer. This card is absurd. It's one of our 2 planeswalkers, the other one being Ugin, which is colorless. If you open an Ugin, congrats. Comes in Meteor Golem, but exiles something, so even better than Meteor Golem. And you can plus it to gain 3 life, draw cards, or you can add 3 mana that's colorless. The ultimate probably won't be relevant in sealed or draft, but yeah, strong card. This is like the sire of 7 deaths. If you opened it at your pre-release, it goes in any deck. Very strong. Elspeth is the other planeswalker though, and the reason I'm pushing you to choose a white clan, because it's 1 extra pack, right? Where we might be able to open Elspeth in. Not saying you will, but you want to be in the white color pair to cast Elspeth. Now, that's not saying if you're playing Sultai and you open Elspeth, you can find the fixing. You're gonna find the fixing, right, to cast Elspeth. You just might run into some other trickier opening hands. Do I keep this or not? So, I lean white, but second on the list here, let's take a look at Mardu. Mardu, we have Sonic Shrieker. This card is worth splashing a 4th color for, in my opinion. It enters, it deals 2 damage to any target, you gain 2 life, and if you happen just to go face with it, they have to discard a card. So if I'm in Abzan, for example, and I want to splash that 4th color red for Sonic Shrieker, wouldn't blame you. There are some mana fixing in the set that allows you to cast dragons of mana of any color. So there's some mana rocks there. You can make treasures. There's ways to get that 4th color in. And ideally, you're not even playing more than 1 basic mountain in your deck. There's so many dual lands. I think every pack has a dual land in it, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 90% of the time you're going to find a dual land. You're going to be able to play the non-basics to get that 4th color in. Some of the dragons are worth it. Sonic Shrieker might be at the top of my list. This card is a house. And then Zergo, Thunder's Decree. Mardu wants to be making mobilized tokens. That's where when you go to your attack step, if you attacked with the creature, you make 2, in this case, 1/1 warrior tokens that are tapped and attacking. Zergo's unique, where you don't actually have to sacrifice those tokens like you would normally for mobilize. You actually get to keep them. So board presence, sticks to the board. Mardu's going wide. I drafted a Mardu deck that was winning on turn 4 or 5, which is a couple combat tricks, a couple 1, 2, 3 drops, combat trick, combat trick. Opponent just had no answers. They're losing cardboard. Mardu seems very strong. This is a set that maybe you want to draft it more, but I mean, if you just jam a deck full of cheap mobilized creatures and have 3 to 4 excellent, buff your entire board combat tricks, Duty from Beyond Death being one of them that overperformed for me. Some really good stuff going on in Mardu. Number 3, I have Sultai. This deck was very fun. Long games. You can expect long grindy wins with this one. Codis, the Fang Keeper, being the legendary creature here, where indestructible. When it deals damage, you exile those top 2 cards, and you may cast them from among them without paying their mana cost, where X is equal to the damage Codis is dealt. You have Teval, Arbiter of Virtue. This gives all your spells you cast Delve, which is a mechanic we've seen before, where you exile cards from your graveyard to reduce the cost. You do lose life equal to it, but Teval makes up for that with Lifelink. A 5 mana 6/6 flying lifelink creature is insane. Sultai has a lot of great things going for it with Renew. So there are payoffs, for example, of whenever a card leaves your graveyard, maybe you draw a card or someone gets a counter, and Sultai just makes use of all the extra fodder, all the cards you've milled away, and you're just going to outgrind your opponent. They watch their life total go down as you are just bleeding them from resources and putting yourself in a position to win. 4th, I could easily swap spots with Sultai and Temur, but Temur is very strong. This is a more flexible, card-driven bonk deck, very similar to Abzan. You're playing big baddies, like your Rennie, the Song Unending, where it comes in and just wipes their board, basically. Or the Jeskai Dragonclaw. If you cast a non-creature spell and a creature spell on the same turn, you put 2 counters on it. A lot of Harmonize in the set. Harmonize, you're able to reduce the cost of the harmonized cost of the card in your graveyard by tapping a creature, and it's reduced by the power of that creature. So a lot of 2-for-1 value here. You cast cards, you cast them again because they have Harmonize, and you can oftentimes swing in with the Vigilance creature, tapping it, making a 5/5 Mammoth on your second main phase. So you're able to get in with Vigilance, tap it for value, put something else in its place on the board, and just keep the pressure moving. I ran over several opponents with my Temur deck that I built earlier. You can check out that video if you'd like. And then the last one. I got Jeskai in last place. It does touch white though, so that does help you with Elspeth. And this feels bad to put in last place because Shiko, Paragon of the Way is an excellent card where you're able to copy spells from your graveyard, or Narset, you're able to discard your hand and keep finding gas. It's got the Flurry mechanic. Now Flurry wants you to double spell early and often, oftentimes putting counters on things, giving creatures double strikes, scrying, copying spells. It takes a lot of synergy to make this deck work, and you might find the pieces in pre-release. This is a deck though I'm more times than not going to want to force when I'm drafting. I'm going to see one of these awesome rares, Jeskai looks completely open, and then I'm off to the races copying my spells and kind of exploding your hand on top of your opponent. It's disgusting some of the combos you can pull off. You can copy, deal 5 damage to a creature, or you can copy a deal 2 damage to a player twice on a turn, and then do it again on the next turn. There's so much explosive combo potential with Jeskai. It might be the most fun deck to play. I just think it's going to be the most inconsistent because you do need the combination of cards coming in at the right time. So it's not going to always be consistent like an Abzan or a Sultai deck would be, but there's times you just got to shake your opponent's hand and be like, you got me. You're doing too much, bro. But yeah, that's my soft rankings for now. Let me give you my top 3 commons in each color, and I'll set you guys off to the races. Good luck in Tarkir. Let's go over some of the top commons in this set. I ranked them by color, so take these in any order, but I think white has the best commons in the set, followed by green, then black, blue, and red. Red's a pretty big drop off. I think the drop off from blue to red is really where the gap is. So if you're trying to base your clan selection off of the top commons, red is probably at the bottom of my tier list by a good margin. It's just lacking some of the quality, common creatures. They got some good Mardu commons. Like I'll give Mardu an edge there if you are trying to do the mobilize thing. But other than that, I think red's really lacking in that space at the common slot. So just keep this in mind. This is another way to frame your decision, frame the way your deck building. Let's start with white though. White is the best color in my opinion. I think there's so many quality commons. I only listed 3 here, but I had like 6 or 7 of them that were on equal playing field of maybe the third or second one in these other colors. Top common in the set for me is Salt Road Pack Beast. This is a 6 mana 4/3. You will never pay 6 mana for it because it gets reduced for the number of creatures you have in play. Oftentimes this is 2 mana, 1 mana even, draw a card, have a 4/3 in play. Think Helpful Hunter on a bigger body. Like it plays just the same because you're going to be paying 2 mana for it, just like a Helpful Hunter, more times than not. So Salt Road Pack Beast takes the top spot for me. And then I'm going to give Riling Dawnbreaker the second spot here. The Omen half of this card. This is not like adventure spells from Wild's Eldraine. When you cast the Omen half, that card then gets shuffled into your library and you can redraw it. So when you think about milling your opponent out, if both players both have an Omen in their last card, you're going to be there a while until someone figures something out or wins the game. But you make a 2/2 creature on the Omen half. The body itself is excellent if you cast the Dragon piece. Flying, Vigilance comes in and it gives something +1 till end of turn when you're attacking. Very powerful card. Taking my number 2, common in white. Number 3, Lightfoot Technique. This is an excellent combat trick. We saw how good Fleeting Flight was in Foundations. This is 2 mana. You put a counter, which sticks around on the creature, gets indestructible, and gains flying. There's just so many counter synergies with Abzan. This card is just going to, more times than not, get damage in during those board stalls. And there's a lot of board stalls. More times than not, you'll see the flyers are the only creatures getting in, the dragons. A lot of board stalls, a lot of big creatures that you got to get through. Lightfoot Technique's going to help break through. Second color in my rankings is green, and I'm going to lead off with Anuk Wayfarer. This is like the Pothole Mole from Aether Drift, or the Eccentric Farmer from Innistrad. We've seen this on a 3 mana creature before, but not 2. So you cast this on 2, creature enters, you mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. If you don't, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So even when you whiff, you at least get a 2/2 for 2. But ideally, you play this on 2, you got your land drop that you need for turn 3, maybe even turn 4. You're just lining yourself up for 2 mana, essentially drawing a card to keep curving you out. So this card's great. Fills the yard as well for the Sultai synergies. It's going to go in most green decks. I don't see a world where you're cutting this one often. Number 2, we have the classic Punch spell. So instant Piercing Exhale for 2 mana. You actually can behold a dragon to get an added bonus. So the added bonus is when this is beheld, you actually surveil 2 cards. So you get some card selection. You fill the graveyard, as well as deal with the immediate threat. Instant speed, you can do this mid-combat too, to 2-for-1 your opponent. Keep the pressure on. Piercing Exhale. Excellent card. It's going in most decks. And the creature here I want to highlight at number 3 is Champion of Doosan in green. 3 mana, 4/2 Trampler. When this dies, you can renew it, which means exile this card from your graveyard. You put a counter on a creature as well as a trample counter. We're talking about ways to get damage through. It's either you're flying over the top or you're slapping trample onto one of your mammoths, onto one of your big creatures that's been growing all game. And if you're an Abzan, trample, flying, that's how you close out games. Champion of Doosan is good if you mill it. Don't care if you cast it on 3. There's a lot of good things to like about this card. Number 3 in my rankings, we have black. And we're going to highlight some awesome removal at common. If you're playing black, it's most likely because you need removal. And there's some really good ones here with Caustic Exhale. I think this is going to see constructed play. You're going to have to pay 2 mana for this one most times unless you have a dragon to behold, but you give a creature -3/-3. So you can do it on a creature mid-combat. Maybe you win that exchange. You can kill something pre-combat, clear the way. A lot of ways to use this card. Can't go wrong. It's a better stab. It's a better Desert's Dew. Like this -3/-3 effect is going to be Very, very effective at getting the job done. And then we have Dragon's Prey next. This is a 3 mana, instant speed removal card. Black always has this. Usually it costs 2 black pips, notably. It only costs 1 black pip, so easier to cast. And if you do target a dragon, that's the only caveat here. Dragons you got to pay a little tax for. It costs 5 mana to destroy the dragon. Totally reasonable. It's going to go into all your black decks. Dragon's Prey is a very good card. And number 3, we have a dragon/omen, Feral Deathgorger. The omen half is 2 mana, and at sorcery speed, put a counter on up to 1 target creature, draw a card. It replaces itself. You grow something. If you care about counters at all in any facet, pretty good synergy for your deck. And when it does hit the battlefield, it is a 3/5 flying Death Toucher, where you get to exile 2 cards from a single graveyard. These are very, very notable because you can exile creatures with Renew, Harmonize, deplete their resources for that extra card advantage that your opponent in Sultai thought they were going to get, or maybe in Temur. They're not going to get that advantage. So pretty good graveyard hate tacked onto this body here too. And following up close behind black, I had blue, and Sibsig Appraiser is my top common in blue. This is 3 mana to look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, one to your graveyard. So you're going to draw the most relevant one, hopefully ditch a Renew or a Harmonize card on the way out, and you basically got a card and a half. You didn't lose any tempo there. You get card value and something in the graveyard to use later. Riverwalk Technique, this is the 4 mana instant speed, put something at the top or bottom of their library. Always a good card, especially in us limited players. We know how good this is. Constructed players could care less about this one, but we also have the flexibility now of holding this up on the opponent's turn to counter a target non-creature spell. And let me tell you, there's some game-breaking board wipes, Jeskai Revelations in this set, which is basically Magnum Opus at home, like very powerful non-creature spells you're going to want to hold this up for. And this is a good insurance policy here. So I think Riverwalk Technique's going to outperform where most people are taking it, or even forgetting to put it in their deck. If this is in my pool, I'm definitely keeping this in mind. At the very least, it's going in the sideboard if they have one of those game-breaking non-creature spells. And, okay, I'll be honest, there was a few cards I could have put here at number 3, but I stuck Ice Ridge Serpent here, just because return target creature in opponent's control to its owner's hand is exactly what we need to catch up in a game. This is no Big Fin Bouncer. It's a little bit worse than that, because it costs 5 mana. Yeah, we're splitting hairs here. But Ice Ridge Serpent, number 3, in blue. If you gotta play one, you could do worse. Now let's talk about red. At least red has Molten Exhale. You cast this, you deal 4 damage for 2 mana, which is very good. You'll, delete probably 60% of the threats your opponent has at that point in the game. It is sorcery speed, not instant speed, but good card, good removal. If you're in red, that's definitely making the cut. Seize Opportunity. This card excels in the go wide strategies in Mardu. If you got multiple creatures swinging in, you can try to win 2 combats with that second mode there. Up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+1 to end a turn. You can oftentimes blow out your opponent that way. If you need card selection late too, you can always cast this on their end step to set yourself up for a big turn, maybe close out the game, find the last points of damage. So 3 mana, instant speed, we can do worse. At least this gives you some card selection. And the last comment I'm going to highlight for this video here is Meticulous Artisan. 3/3 for 4, but it has prowess, and it gives you a treasure when you cast it. So it's basically a 3/3 for 3 with prowess, but that treasure is very good in a 3-color set where you need fixing or ramp to cast those big dragons, those expensive multicolor spells. I like it. Not as much as the other colors, but I like it. Alright, let's talk about mana fixing in this set. It's a 3-color set. It's going to play slow. You're not going to play things on curve always because we need to make sure we can cast our spells. And we have a number of tools here to do that, which is really cool because sometimes 3-color sets can get clunky. I don't know if you remember New Capenna, where you're just stuck with 2 out of your 3 colors, like that unplayable or something of that nature. They did a good job with this set, I feel like. In the little bit that I've played, between all the tri-lands, for example, Opulent Palace, Mystic Monastery, they come in tapped. They tap for any of the 3 colors in the clan that you're playing. Helps you get that 4th color in if you need to as well on the splash. These tri-lands are here. We have the dual lands, the ones that gain you a life when they come in. So we got those in most packs too. You're usually picking these up. You don't need to take these as highly as you had to in others, because I think most packs do include one of them. Just make sure you leave the draft with at least 2 to 3 of these. The less basics you have to play and pigeonhole yourself into those opening hands, the better. We have Evolving Wilds. This helps you get that third color too if you need it. The last thing you want to do though is mulligan, because you can't cast your spells. So play those tap lands, pick up these tri lands when you can. Take a look at what's in your pre-release kit, and best of luck there. 2 other artifacts I want to call out. We have the Embermouth Sentinel. This comes in for 2 mana to go and find a basic. You put that card on top of your library. We've seen this before. Good card, helps you curve out, make sure you hit your colors. And then Dragonstorm Globe. There is a 5-color dragon soup deck, usually in base green of some sort, but Dragonstorm Globe for 3 mana. It gets you that next color, it ramps you, and your dragons come in with an additional counter. Nice little bonus there, I guess, but a lot worse you can do for a 3 mana rock. And yeah, this is going to help you cast your spells. This might help you if you're in that 4th color, splash in that dragon, but I like this. If I have to play it, I will. Some kits might not have the dual lands, so you might have to run a Dragonstorm Globe. Just make sure you check this out before building your deck. Might be something you need to throw in. And we have the 5 Devotees. Each one has a color. They're basically creatures that help you filter for the clan colors that you have if you pay 1 mana. So we have the Mardu one. This is actually one of my favorite ones. It comes in on turn 1, and you can scry 2. Helps you line up your draws, hit lands, make sure you're, even in the late game, finding a relevant spell. So Mardu one's good. I really like the Sultai one too. This one has Death Touch, so that's quality. I mean, you can trade 1 for 1 there, use a punch spell on it, so it's got some board presence and stayability. Jeskai one grows when you double spell, do the flurry thing. Abzan, you can buy this back from the graveyard over and over again, also fine. And then the Temur one is a 3/3 defender. It's no Midnight Mangler. It's there. I don't know. Probably my least favorite of the bunch, but it does the filter thing. Keep a lookout for these. If you don't have dual lands, these are a nice little, backup plan. And then I forgot to call this one out, but Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. This is to help you cast your dragons with mana of any color. It taps for colorless. You can sack it in the late game too to go dig up and find the dragon that you've been waiting for all game to cast. So I don't think I'll be playing this much, but if I do have like a Meringue, River Regent, or Ureni, or one of these big baddie dragons that are kind of game breaking if they hit, I'll think about it. Depends how split I am amongst my colors and the cards I'm playing. I think the creators did a great job making sure we can slap dragons down, play on curve, and just make sure we're having a good experience. The last thing we wanted was a clunky set where we can't do anything with cards stuck in our hand, and I think we did a great job with this one. I can't wait for you guys to try this set out for yourselves. I'm going to be updating my rankings too. I have the full detail spreadsheet that I worked on with my team, and I'm going to post that in the description. Feel free to copy it, make changes to it, make it your own. I want you guys to give some feedback, and I'm going to change those as we go. Might post them on 17 lands so that I can update them there publicly for you all, but hope you guys enjoy Tarkir. I've been having a blast with it. Good luck at your pre-release, and let me know if you're going in the comments and which clan you're rocking with. I think I am personally leaning towards Abzan, maybe Sultai. I might flip a coin. I'm still undecided, but Abzan or Sultai for me. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope I earned your subscription with this one. If you haven't subscribed already, then I appreciate all of you. You guys have a good rest of your night. Peace.